Hello guys, welcome to Tech Vitals. Today we are going to learn about the public key authentication in Linux, where we will connect one Linux machine to another using the public key, not using the password. In the previous videos where we learned about the SSH connection, we used the SSH command to connect one virtual machine to another, and then we will have to give the password for that specific user to be connected in that virtual machine. So we have these two virtual machines running on right now in our virtual box. The first one is the graphic user interface virtual machine, and the second one is the command line interface virtual machine. We have connected this graphic user virtual machine with our mobile external application with the user Paul. And in the last couple of videos, we connected this command line interface virtual machine through this mobile external application using the SSH command. So the last time, to connect this command line interface virtual machine where the host name is SSH2, we used the command SSH, and since we have changed the port number of SSH in the SSH2 machine, we have to add the attribute -p and then the new port number, that is 1424, then the username John @ the IP address, and we also have to add the sudo command here. Okay, now we have to give the password of John, and now we are inside this SSH2 machine with the user John. So here we use the password of John user to be connected or to get access in this SSH2 machine. But in today's video, we are going to learn how to connect to the virtual machine using the public key, because password is not a very secure method, because password can be hacked at any time. So instead of using password, we will be using the key authentication. So let's exit from SSH2 machine. Now, to allow the public key authentication, first we have to generate the public and private keys. So to generate the keys, we use the command ssh-key gen. So this will generate the public and private keys. Let's press the enter. Okay, so as you can see, it says generating public and private RSA key pair, and now it is asking for the path or the location where you want to save those keys, and the default location is /home/Paul, since we are connected with user Paul, and this is the home directory of Paul. And inside the home directory of Paul, there is a directory named .ssh. It's a hidden directory, and inside this directory it will create those public and private keys. You can also give the different path where you want to save those keys, but normally the default path is the best path where we can save the keys. So let's just press the enter, and now it will ask you for the passphrase. Passphrase is like a password. You can also give the password if you want to add more security, but you can also leave it blank. So I'm just gonna leave it blank and hit the enter again. Okay, so our public and private keys has been generated inside this /home/Paul/.ssh directory. So if we go in that directory, cd/home/Paul/.ssh, and if you check the list, then you can see this one is the public key and this one is the private key. Now, to allow the public key authentication to connect from this machine to this machine, we will have to share this public key to this machine. So the public key has to be shared to the remote machine where we want to connect using the public key authentication, but the private key will always be in the host machine. So we will not share the private key, we will just share the public key. And before sharing the public key, let's first go inside this SSH2 machine. If we check the list in the home directory of John user, then you will see there we also have this .ssh directory. If we go inside this .ssh directory and check the list, here we have just one file called non-hosts. And now let's go back to our SSH1 machine and let's share the public key. To share the public key, we use the command ssh-copy-id, and then we give the username and the IP address of the remote machine where we want to connect. Because there is a new port number, we also have to give this -p attribute, the new port and the username John and the IP address. Now let's press the enter. Let's give the password of John. Okay, so it said number of keys added 1, that is the public key has been added to the remote machine. If we go to this SSH2 machine, so earlier when we checked the list of this .ssh directory, we just had one file, that is non-hosts. But now after sharing the public key, let's check the list again. And now here you can see one more file has been added named authorized keys, and this file contains the public key of this SSH1 machine. So now to connect from this SSH1 machine to SSH2 machine, we won't need the password anymore because we have shared the public key. So let's try to connect to this SSH2 machine with this SSH1 machine. Let's first clear the screen, and we're going to use the same command, that is SSH -p, the new port number, then the username John and the IP address. Okay, so before sharing the public key, when we use this command to connect to our SSH2 machine, it asked us the password for the user John. But now since we have allowed the public key authentication, let's check if it will ask us for the password or not. Okay, so as you can see, now we are inside the SSH2 machine. So it didn't ask us for any password for the John user. We are automatically inside this SSH2 machine. So that means public key authentication has been successfully implemented. So let's exit from SSH2. So if we go to our SSH2 machine, in this SSH directory, we have non-hosts and authorized keys that contains the public key of SSH1 machine, but we haven't generated any public and private keys for this SSH2 machine. So to connect to our SSH1 machine from this SSH2 machine, we still need the password. So if we try to connect to this SSH1 machine using SSH paul@192.168.7.177, it will ask you for the password of Paul, and after you give the password, you will get inside this SSH1 machine. If you want to allow the public key authentication for this SSH2 machine as well, you can just repeat the whole process. So let's exit and let's clear the screen, and we can use ssh-keygen command. So it will ask you to give the path where you want to save that keys. So you can just keep this default path. Let's press the enter. So now if we check the list in this .ssh directory, we must have public and private keys for this machine as well. Yes, we do have private key and public key. And to share this public key to this SSH1 machine, we can use ssh-copy-id, and then the username, that is Paul, and the IP address, that is 192.168.7.177. So let's give the password of Paul, and now the public key has been added in this SSH1 machine. So if we check the list here, then we have this authorized keys that contains the public key of our SSH2 machine. So now we can also connect from this SSH2 machine to this SSH1 machine without any password. So let's try SSH all@192.168.7.177. And as you can see, we are inside this SSH1 machine, and you can just share this public key to any remote machine where you want to connect using the public key authentication. This public key will establish a encrypted connection between the remote machine and the host machine, and when you try to connect between those two machines, the private key will decrypt that public key, and if there is a match, then only the connection will be established. So the public key is for the encryption and the private key is for the decryption, and the public key will be shared to the remote machine, but the private key will always be stored in the host machine. It will not be shared. Okay, so now since we are able to connect to our SSH2 machine from this SSH1 machine using the public key, we can just disable the password authentication in this SSH2 machine. That is, we can make the settings that no one can connect to this SSH2 machine without the public key, even if they have the password. So to do that, let's first exit the connection to SSH1. Now we're back to SSH2 machine. Let's clear the screen. And to disable the password authentication, we have to go in the sshd_config file, which is inside the etc directory. So let's use sudo, and we have to edit, so we're going to use vi/etc/ssh/sssd_config. Let's press the enter. Let's hit the enter, and let's search for the password word. So /password, press the enter. So now we are in the line where there is a word password authentication. So let's go to the insert mode, and let's remove this hash sign, and let's make this yes into no. So here we have disabled the password authentication. That is, no one can connect to this SSH2 machine with the password. Now to save it, let's press escape and then type :wq, press the enter, and we need to restart the SSH service. So let's type sudo systemctl restart sshd. Okay, so here, since we have shared our public key to SSH2 machine, we can connect to SSH2 machine without any password. So if we type ssh -p 1424 john@192.168.7.182, we should be able to connect to SSH2 machine. Yes, we are. But if in the SSH2 machine, if we delete this authorized keys which contains the public key of this SSH1 machine, then this SSH2 machine will lost the public key of this SSH1, and we won't be able to connect from SSH1 to SSH2 using the public key. So in this SSH1 machine, let's first exit the connection. So now we are in the SSH1 machine, and in the SSH2 machine, if we remove this authorized keys file, then if we check the list, now we don't have that authorized keys, so we don't have the public key of SSH1 anymore. So now if we try to connect to this SSH2 machine, let's press the enter. Now as you can see, it says permission denied, because the first reason is we don't have the public key of this SSH1 machine in this SSH2 machine, so we couldn't connect using the public key authentication. And the second reason is here in the SSH2 machine we have disabled the password authentication, so now no machine can connect to this SSH2 machine with the password, and that's why even if we know the password of John, we cannot connect to our SSH2 machine because SSH2 is not accepting passwords anymore. But In the SSH1 machine, we do have the public key of SSH2 machine in this authorized keys, so we can still connect from SSH2 machine to SSH1 machine using the public key. So if we type SSH Paul @ the IP address of SSH1 machine, then we can still get inside this SSH1 machine without any password. So that's the power of public key authentication. We don't need password anymore, and the connection can be established between only those machines which have shared the public key with each other. So this public key authentication is much more secure than the password authentication. We will learn about more security features in our future videos, and that's gonna do it for this video. I'll see you soon with the next video. Till then, keep learning. Goodbye.